Shalom and welcome to 2 Minutes of Torah. This year is entitled V'techezena Ainainu, Part 7, and the mini-series Mud and the Miracle, Part 4. We've seen that in all three redemptions, at least in my opinion, there's some Jews just see the mud, the problems, the issues, and don't see the miracles. Of course, in the Yam Suf, feeling the mud and complaining about that during the Yam Suf, rebuilding the Mikdash, and just noticing and crying the fact that it's going to be smaller than the previous Mikdash, and nowadays as well, where the return of the Jews to the homeland, Jewish sovereignty, just seeing problems, issues, non-religious government, and other kind of problems, and not seeing all the incredible miracles in front of our eyes. I'd like to make an interesting comparison. We had Yam Suf, the miracle of Yam Suf a few thousand years ago, and there's a present-day miracle of Yam Suf from a few decades ago. And to me, it's a classic example if we want to see the miracles or not. So there is an amazing book about the Mossad that came out for the last couple of years. A lot of declassified information. It talks about all the different missions that they have been on. We always have Hakar Tov to Tzahal and to the government ministers and other leaders that have done so much for the Jewish people that we see in front of our eyes. Mossad, on the other hand, we just don't know what they do. Here and there, we get a little trickle of information. So Eli Cohen, of course, is a well-known hero. And their involvement in Entebbe and other issues, of course, are known. But details are not. And now they are publishing a book on the Mossad. It's an incredible read. To me, it's just one long book on Hakar Tov to people that literally give up their lives, risk their lives 24/7. One specific point that I'd like to mention is their saving of the Ethiopian Jews, where Rav Avadia passed in 1973 that they are halachically Jews. Menachem Begin immediately said, if that's the case, law of return applies to them. And then they went on an unbelievable mission to try to save these Jews from Ethiopia. It was an incredible journey, impossible working in enemy territory in a secretive way, and somehow through airlifts, through boat rides, it's just unbelievable. And I'd specifically like to mention that at one of the chapters in the heroic rescue of the Ethiopian Jews, it meant them coming from Ethiopia to Sudan, and through the Sudan to the Red Sea, to the Yam Suf. And they brought them through on the Yam Suf. The Israeli Mossad set up a hotel resort in Sudan so that the people in Sudan wouldn't know anything that's going on, and would have a resort there with scuba divers and other things. And then at night, they'd be whisking away the Ethiopian refugees and bringing them home to Eretz Israel. And mamish, a miracle at Yam Suf. And these kind of things have to be recognized and appreciated. And I'd like to go a step further. The Gemara in Berachot says that in the time of redemption, the Gemara wonders, will we still even talk about the original Yam Suf? Or will we only talk about what? The present-day redemption. And the Gemara concludes that yes, we will still mention the Yetziat Mitzrayim, but the prominent Gula is going to be the present-day Gula, the ingathering of the exiles, God bringing the Jews home from all four corners of the world, the Binyan HaMikdash, everyone focusing on Torah and Mitzvot, even the rest of the world recognizing Hashem and recognizing the unique role of the Jewish people. It's an amazing, amazing Gemara, and you'd bet ibid and Berachot. So it turns out that this mini Yam Suf that we've had, the Kriyat Yam Suf, miracle of Yam Suf we had just a few decades ago, the Gemara says that is going to be more prominent. That episode of many, many, many episodes of the Jews coming home, very often with the help of the Mossad and the government, the Jewish agency, etc., 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 nefesh nowadays. These are all incredible miracles. And soon they're going to be the most prominent miracles that we discuss. And we praise Hashem for. Chas v'shalom, that people only see the mud. And there is mud. And there are problems. And yes, the Taimani Aliyah was not so pretty, to say the least. And there are plenty of tragedies there for sure. And it should be noted and should be seen what was done, and for sure to make sure nothing of that ever happens again, and be wary of such people for sure. Taking the Taimanim and separating them from the religion, of course, it's a horrible disaster. It's mud. But chas v'shalom, to only see the Taimani Aliyah and the tragedies there, and not recognize the miracle of the Ethiopian Aliyah, which also has its challenges. But there's a beautiful miracle there as well. A miracle not just from Hashem, of course, but the people involved, risking their lives to save our brothers, to bring them home. Yes, Hashem, we should be able to be zocha, to see the miracles on front of our eyes, and notice the mud and deal with the mud, but always focus on the beautiful miracles that Hashem is performing in front of our very eyes. Shalom.